Ow! How's it going, guys? It's Glenn from Ion Silver, back to you again with a video here. Actually, this is my first video of Ion Silver. This isn't my first YouTube video ever. I have posted a few other videos if you've seen them. I've talked about things like style, I've talked a little bit about history, but I've never mentioned something else that I'm also very, very passionate about. I'm out here in my backyard on this beautiful day here in New England, and today is going to be a review video of something that I've been using, testing, running through its paces for a while, and that is of this knife called the Blackbird SK-5 from Ontario Knife Company. I've had this knife for almost 2 years now. On December 30th, we're in October now, but on December 30th is going to mark the 2-year anniversary of when I purchased this bad boy, and this knife has treated me well. I've used it properly, and after all these years of using it and running it through its paces, I feel like it deserves a review. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to talk a little bit about this knife, give you the pros and cons of it, and then we're going to go take a field test over behind me, which is where my axe yard is, and show you guys what this knife can do. So the knife is designed by a guy named Paul Schneider, or Scheider. I believe it's Schneider, and he's actually a very young guy too. He's in about, I think he's almost around my age. I think he's like in his mid-20s, early 30s, something around there. And let's take it out of the sheath so that way you guys can take a look at it. This is what the knife looks like out of the sheath. It's got a silver blade on here, but you can get it coated if you want. It's got micarta handle scales, or I think they're actually G10 handle scales. Micarta and G10 are both kind of the same thing. So yeah, they are the same thing. So the blade length is 5 inches overall, and the handle is, I believe, 4 inches. It fits very comfortably in the hand. It's a full tang construction, which means the metal from the tip of the blade continues through the handle and ends here at the pommel, which is the butt of the handle. And let's see what else I have here. Oh, this grind right here is a flat grind. And there's different types of grinds that are on knives. I actually have a few more that I'm going to be reviewing pretty soon. And we're going to talk, and you'll see the difference between flat grinds. There's also Scandi grinds, saber grinds, and I believe a couple of other grinds as well. And I'm not entirely sure what type of cutting edge is on the blade. I think I gotta look that up. But if anybody knows what kind of cutting edge is on this blade, please post it down below in the comments. I'd like to hear from you guys. Now, that's enough about the knife. Let's talk a little bit about the sheath. The sheath is MOLLE compatible. It's made out of nylon, and those are my initials right there. And one of the things I really like about this particular sheath is when you place this knife inside of the sheath, what you want to do is make sure that the sharp piece is facing this way. Reason being is because there's this part right here. It's the button that keeps the knife in place, but what this does is it flips to the side, and when you pull the knife out, it keeps it away from the strap. That way it doesn't fray or damage the strap, so that way the sheath can do its job, which is to keep the knife inside of it. If you put it in like like this way, you're putting it in backwards, and you can cut your strap, and then the knife will fall out, you can lose it, and then you'll really be bumming. Alright, so that's enough about the knife. Now we're going to talk... one other thing I forgot to mention is this knife, I purchased it on Amazon, and back when I got it, it was $119. Now it's $110, so they've brought the price down a little bit. And that's, I mean, those prices, in my opinion, really aren't that expensive, but they're not exactly pocket change either. And I know there's quite a few of us who are on a budget these days. So, but if you really want a good survival knife, I say save up your money. In my opinion, this type of knife is definitely worth the investment. Oh, and another thing too about the sheath is this right here is the belt loop. And you don't actually have to you don't have to use the belt loop. There's another way you can put it on, and I'll demonstrate it in a minute when we go over to the axe yard. But that's just something to keep in mind. Alright, so the pros of the knife. I'm going to pull it out of its sheath again. First thing I'm going to say is it feels very, very comfortable in the hand. I'm definitely not feeling any hot spots. Another thing I also like too is how this bottom part here kind of starts kind of low and then rides up, and the reason why knives do that is so that way you can use this as a little bit of a chopper. You can't do much heavy chopping with this. I mean, you can do some heavy chopping with it, but you're gonna have to swing more times in order to get those like really fine chops and cuts that you're looking for. Next thing is there's a lanyard hole here, and as you can see, I have a lanyard, and what this is for safety reasons. If when you use a knife, your hands are going to get slippery and sticky. I mean, hot and sticky and sweaty. But there is a case where you could drop the knife, and if you do drop the knife, this catches the knife, and it also prevents the knife from hitting somebody or you losing your knife. Also, too, like I said, the micarta handle scales are really, really great. There's a full tang blade, which is something you definitely want to look for in a survival knife. And also another thing that's really good about the sheath is how the button moves to the side that I just mentioned. Oh, another thing also too is I like how this front here is MOLLE compatible, and so is the back. You can attach this to a pack or to your belt. And you can also attach this, you can take pouches and attach it to this. I used to do that. I don't do it anymore because I find that when it comes to pouches on sheaths, it kind of makes it hard to take the knife and put it into a pack, which is something I do quite frequently. But then again, that's just my own personal taste. To each his own, right? Alright, so, another thing I also forgot to mention about the sheath is there is a drainage hole right there. Alright, here are some of the cons that I have about the knife. This thing buttons well, but one of the things that I noticed is when you put it into the sheath, or when you take it out of the sheath, because this thing is kind of sticking out a little bit, it kind of bumps into there, and sometimes when you put it back in, sometimes it has a tendency to get stuck, but it's really not that big of an issue. And also, because the knife is kind of small, it kind of makes it difficult to baton certain things. Like there's like I don't really have trouble batoning small pieces of wood, but if you want to baton big pieces of wood, you can do it, but you are going to definitely have a little bit of trouble batoning some wood. So just keep in mind that this is only meant for light batoning, and not really like splitting a really huge log or anything like that. And Oh, another thing too is I wish this sheath came in different colors. I kind of wish it came in like an OD green type of color, maybe black or gray. Just, I mean, not that I really mind coyote tan. I don't know. I like it when sheaths have darker colors to them, or like greenish colors for that matter. Okay, guys. So now I'm gonna we're gonna move over to my axe yard that's right behind me. I'm gonna reposition the camera. We'll be right back. Okay, guys. So this is my axe yard. Nothing really too fancy. This is just where I do a lot of just simple chopping tasks and carving tasks. So what we're going to do now is, now that I've showed you the specs of the Blackbird SK5, I'm going to show you what it can do. I'm going to do some batoning, I'm going to do some whittling, I'm going to make a feather stick and a tent peg. Alright, before we do that, I'm just going to take the knife and strap it to my belt. Now, normally, you can use the belt loop if you want to, like I mentioned, but this is the way that I do it. I take this MOLLE strap, I take it out, attach it to my belt like this, feed it through, and I'm ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is put on my glove, and now we're ready to go. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lanyard, put it around the hand so that way there's nothing in the palm, get a good grip of the knife. This is going to be the stick I'm going to use to baton with. This is the wood I'm going to be batoning, and just put it in there like that. Well, actually, I'm going to use this one instead. And as you can see, that baton pretty well. Now what I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to take this piece of wood, I'm going to baton it down the middle. One half I'm going to use for the feather stick, and the other half I'm going to use for the tent peg. Alright, so this half I'm going to use for the tent peg, and this half I'm going to use for the feather stick. I'm going to do the feather stick first because it's easier. So what you want to do is, if you have a square piece of wood like this, you want to start at the corners, and then you want to start at the top, and then you want to work your way down, and you're pretty much letting the knife do the work for you. So now, I'm pretty sure you're wondering what the purpose of a feather stick is. It's a fire starter, and as soon as I'm done, I'll show you what it looks like. And it's not a good feather stick, but it's pretty decent. So now that I've done the feather stick, now I'm going to do the tent peg. So what you want to do is you want to pick one end, and you want to make that basically a pointy end, and you want to take the other end and put a notch into it, so that way when you drive this into the ground, you can attach a rope there and it's going to stay in place. So actually, you know what, I'm going to use this piece of wood instead, because actually it's the same piece of wood that I used to make that last feather stick, but oh well. Alright, so first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to even off the corners. Hopefully I don't hit my phone. And as you can see here, as I'm doing this, I'm moving in circular motions, and the knife is just biting, is just melting right through the wood. I obsess over keeping sharp knives. Now, this is just the slow way of doing it. Now I'm going to show you the quick and dirty method of doing it. Now this method does save you a lot of time, but it does burn a lot of calories because you're moving your arm a lot more. But if you have to make a tent peg and you have to do it in very quickly, the way I just did it is the way to do it. Alright, so right there is the finished point. Now I'm going to show you the final part of making the tent peg. Alright, so this isn't perfect, but I think you get the idea. Right there is the notch that I was talking about. You want to do it a little bit deeper. I actually have another one that's a little bit better. It's that one, and there's the point. This is an example of what a good tent peg looks like. So as you can